Oh, this is fine, okay. The only thing I can't figure out is the YouTube. You know anything about the YouTube?
There is a little thing at the top there, usually.
Did you make copies of the agenda? Oh, I did. So now that you didn't bring my instructions. So here's my instruction, okay, and I think if you, so I have to get out of full screen first. Yeah. Here's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. There was actually.
I thought it was, I did too. But it,
You should I go get the map? I feel we don't understand. It's very hard. to understand.
It's back into Zoom. No, that's not what I wanted. Just go back to Zoom.
okay. Well, we did the minutes of the last meeting. But there's another meeting that we have to do the July 14th. This is through. Okay, I was like, I got confused, so like, what is, yeah. This. Oh, good idea. Okay, now what? Okay, here's no, here. Yes, what I wrote in there. And we're in Zoom. Yeah, but it's not mine. Then, how about the, okay, how about the, and then usually. I mean, I start with Karen, if you do on that product, yeah, this is, yeah, the right. And this is my, and this is our packet for the board of directors, I just made one copy. Okay, I'm gonna work on that, because we haven't, yeah, we have to do a rest up first. Then.
I appreciate you making copies.
Chosen.
We are going to go through not the other part, more. When it was down there. That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying such a way.
If they don't get done, we won't have a problem.
There's something going on with the library. For help, I went to the station, no?
Okay, you can. On YouTube. That's just. Yeah.
Well, okay, for now, I have to go to.
You got your hand up?
No,
It looks good.
you know, it's just growing, I don't want to grow it a bit, so, you know, when I went for a walk, so I guess the wind. Okay.
I used to be up there. And I'm not seeing it.
Wait.
You were voted on in August, right?
What's that?
You were voted on in August, correct?
Yeah, last month. That was, yeah, the last. meeting.
Right, but you were officially voted on in August, September, for the select board.
September meeting, yeah.
I thought it was the August meeting. I know you came to the September meeting, I didn't come, but I'd like to have my
Wow,
notes, and then we talk when they resign, when they start. That's all.
On that picture, you see that in here.
And I was,
Did, Candice said she was coming,
there was no,
no response from anybody?
from Marcia or Maureen.
We gotta be here. Okay, here's good. Okay, library.
There's Marcia.
Here's Marcia.
Chosen. And it will be all right.
Marcia, I have, there's minutes all there, because I'd already handed out stuff, so there's the agenda, the minutes, and the spreadsheet on room.
Yeah. Do you think I hit the meeting ID number to get back to where we were? No. Okay. Oh, good.
And there's 2 pages to the minutes. And there's one other page.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
Wait a minute, it says it's in progress.
Yeah, I see that.
But what if you click on the in progress? No. No. I let it go in progress.
Oh, yeah.
Is there somebody?
I can call Terry, but here.
So, have you tried start? What, have you tried the start
right there.
button?
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay,
Now
that's,
here.
that looks good, yeah.
That's good. Dean Terry is good.
Recording, so this is good. It says recording right here.
Yeah. Why is it? And I don't. Okay.
Because you have a, maybe you need to put this one.
Okay, this is somebody that wants to get in. Oh. Terry?
No, it's Opal Studio.
Did I take one of these or will there be?
I gave you some.
Oh, I did, okay.
I gave, that's Dave. Okay, well,
Can you-
Dave,
Can you hear
Hi,
us?
everyone. I can hear you, but I can't see anyone.
no, we can't figure out how to get our screen on. I've done a bunch of things that are not good. Let's see.
Because here, you need to.
Here?
No, this
Here?
little cross, yes. Okay, now you have to type. Okay, where are you? Go back. Yeah.
Just a minute, Gabe, I'm trying to.
What if you go
No
up?
worries.
You see where maximizes at the top of that bit?
Seems like if we could get into the Zoom program.
Here,
Yeah.
share screen.
It's a good thing you don't. I mean, I support it.
Oh, no, we did it.
Okay. So it's definitely, it doesn't have. So we can figure out how to, we see that the start video thing, meeting out for camera. So that's on video setting. There, it should be fine.
Oh, okay, now we've got,
Can you see us or?
Still no,
oh, no, all right.
but
Hold on a minute.
that all sounded promising.
Well, we can have strength, we can see you, but
Are we seeing,
Mirror my video. Share screen.
well, we might have to go out and,
Yeah, I don't know if you,
yeah. We can use.
maybe Maureen can help, she's here. You can't see us.
I can't,
That's fine. I can just listen, I think. That's all right.
Right, you got the right Zoom link?
I had it all set up, and then in trying to get to YouTube, I couldn't find YouTube. I was looking on some of the other, and I lost it, so I don't know how to get back to where I started, you know?
No, I don't remember, it's been a while. So we can't do YouTube?
No, it wasn't on here at all.
But if we're recording that meeting, we might be able to post it
Decided.
later.
It's
No, it's
recorded.
when you record, you hit YouTube at the same time.
Oh.
So
Okay.
you've just been taping everything that's been going on, so.
I've been doing a lot of things over here.
Maureen, there's 2 pages to the minute. There's one more page. And then there's the spreadsheet.
Because I sure couldn't hear you on a microphone.
Oh, man.
There you are.
You see us? Oh.
Okay, don't touch anything.
Whatever you did solved it.
Maximize the window, maybe.
Don't touch anything.
Right. Not really, because I don't know if you can see the screen behind me, but we don't have a screen here, and it's recording.
Well,
So
that's
that's
fine. It's doing everything. it
Because
should
we're
do.
there,
There's a little screen behind,
So,
and we got 2 screens. I don't know what.
It's okay, because Gabe is the only participant as far as I can tell, so.
Well, where's Candace? She's supposed to be on this too, right? Isn't she?
it was 50-50.
Well, if she were to join, we would have heard the thing, and,
Well, I think we can look out for her. We've got enough people to start, right?
all right, so we start? All right, that was a little bit, I came early just to figure this out, because I messed up the YouTube last. Okay, I need a volunteer to take minutes.
all right, I've never done it, so we just.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, the meeting is called to order. It's 6:05, 6:06, I guess. Adjustments to the agenda.
Okay, President, we have
Oh,
Sandra,
we have one,
I guess, right?
member of the public, Sandra Wallace. And,
Oh, sorry, are we on adjustments to the agenda?
yeah, we're just about to do that. Candace is not here right now, but she said she would be here, hopefully on Zoom, so I hope she can get on. Okay, adjustments to the agenda. Okay,
So, as I mentioned by email, I think we should table the discussion of images and the look and feel of the building until next month, when I'm able to be there in person. I think that's just gonna be more productive if we can all be in the same room.
okay, so in terms of, that would be under new business, just, scrapping the images, look and feel, design priorities.
Scrapping item 1 under new business, both A and B.
You make a motion,
You don't need to make a
No?
motion. No,
okay, so.
he's just changing the agenda. Sandy?
Okay.
Moira, has her hand up.
Oh, Myra, yeah,
Another adjustment, it should be the prior meetings, it would be clarify that it was July 14th and the September 8th meetings, so that we know which ones we need to do.
Okay, I didn't get any of that.
July 14th was a meeting that didn't have a quorum of those in attendance like in September, so it could not be voted on. And then last month, the September 8th meeting, was the other meeting which would be just on schedule.
okay, so you're putting in the dates under, the meeting minutes to be approved.
Correct.
Okay, I brought the meeting minutes for, okay, any other adjustments to the agenda that anybody wants to bring up? Okay, great. I brought the minutes for the, September 8th meeting, with corrections that I had gotten, via email. And, but I did not bring the July, minutes. Do you have a copy of those?
I only have the ones online and with my email that I gave to Gabe,
Okay.
or whoever took the minutes. I just sent it to both.
Yeah, Gabe took those minutes and I didn't bring my whole folder, so, so I think all we can do maybe is, approve the September 8th minutes at this point.
Mhm.
So if you want to take a minute and read those minutes, those of you who haven't read them, and,
Just a clarification, does that mean we'll approve the July 14th minutes at another meeting?
You did in September, but you didn't have a quorum of those people.
Oh, I know,
in it.
I meant if we just decided that we couldn't do it now, does that mean we have to then do it still again?
yeah,
Well, we don't have a copy of the
I don't-
minutes.
I don't have a copy of the minute.
So
I
we'll do
just
it,
dropped-
that's fine, we can do it next month, it's fine.
More.
On your, I just put down in the paragraph about June meeting, it's really July 14th meeting. That the minutes of those need to be voted on.
Oh, July 14th.
It was that meeting,
Okay,
just to clarify.
okay. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna be very poor about taking care of you, because you just speak very quickly about changing this, changing that, throwing dates. I don't have time to follow.
I'll take care of it.
Yeah, okay.
I'll do it.
Yeah, well, I got confused with these two different dates and who was, you weren't yet a member, so then I think I got confused with what we were approving tonight, but definitely we can approve as amended, the minutes of the meeting from September 8th.
Okay.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to that effect?
Motion to accept the meeting of the minutes of the September 8th meeting
As amended.
as amended.
Second?
Marcia can't second it, she wasn't there. Neither Marcia or I were at the meeting.
I never got to change that you put in, but.
I'll second it. I can second it.
So,
What is it, Warren? What?
I said I didn't get any corrections, so I had no idea what you're talking about it, but I'll just second it so we can get the show more,
Well, I put Sandy.
whatever.
Okay, great. Can we vote? All those in favor? Aye.
I guess.
Okay.
Gabe?
I,
you voted?
Okay, thank you, Dave.
To abstain, since we weren't here.
Okay, we had a great, before I go into new business, old business, we had a great meeting last time looking at design issues, and unfortunately, Dave's got COVID, so we can't continue it quite in the way that we wanted to, but it was a very lively conversation and a lot of moving around, working on the whiteboard, and so you see some of the results of that in this chart, which we'll talk about a little bit later under new business. So I just, and then we encouraged everybody to bring photographs of other libraries and spaces and ideas from their travels. And I think we are tabling that until next meeting. So the old business, which we're going to get to now, is a vote to create a nominating committee for the auxiliary board of directors. A couple things before we look for voting on that. It's hard to talk. People came with names last meeting of potential board members for the 501c3 or the nonprofit corp, which is now incorporated. And we can't really talk about that publicly in an open meeting, all those names. That would be kind of not a good thing to do. And so I talked with John Spear about it. How are we going to do this, and how are we going to collaborate with the select board in coming up with names? And I said, we are going to form a nominating committee, subcommittee of this committee. And that's what I would like to do, so that we can start to get more information about people and begin to have conversations.
we might not yet be at the point of saying, will you be a board member, but that we want to talk with you about the idea of being on the board of directors. So, he felt that was, fine, but he really did want to talk to the attorney about any of the open meeting issues that might come up with that. But he felt that that was a good way to go, and I also suggested that we be on the agenda for the next select board meeting, so we could talk about how to collaborate with the select board on choosing nominations for, processing, vetting nominations for the board of directors, and he's with that. So that is October 18th. We will be on the agenda. If any of you would like to come to that meeting, there will be a discussion, and he will get some clarifications from the attorney. Any questions so far about that? So I would like to propose that Catherine and Maureen and I be the nominating committee from this committee.
Maureen or Moira?
I'm so sorry, Moira and Catherine and I be the nominating committee from this group to start to vet the names that we gathered at last meeting. So, can I make a motion? I make a motion. I would like to make a motion that Moira and Catherine and I be the nominating committee of the South Thomaston Library and Community Center committee.
Is there a second?
I can second that.
Wait a second.
Okay, discussion. Anybody want to bring up any thoughts about this?
No discussion.
No discussion. All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor of Moira, Catherine, and I being the nominating committee, please raise your hand.
And Gabe's gonna have to say,
And Dave?
I vote yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you.
one, Sandy, you have a hand up? 2, 3, Catherine, 4, Marcia, or Maureen?
Yeah, our hands up.
Okay, thank you.
So it's interesting to think about how to do this without violating the open meeting law, have conversations about people, and John is really concerned about that. And I don't know if anybody has any experience, this is a town committee, and mostly 501c3s are private, but we've done all of our work to make this a very open and public situation. So I feel like there's an interesting place that I haven't been at before in terms of this. Yeah.
Usually a nominating committee on a nonprofit board takes care of processing and vetting the people. And then once they have those people that they feel should be presented, then they come to the board and present their slate of people, if it's officers or trustees or whoever they are, and present them. And then the committee then votes on it. And so those names would then become part of the public record once they've done that.
So, okay, let me just go through some of the things that you just said, because we are a town committee, and the incorporation of the auxiliary is a town project. So our nominating committees, either select board or here, are part of the public, we're part of the, it's the public committee, but a subcommittee can do a private conversation about vetting. This is where I'm a little bit confused.
Yes, the nominating or any side committee can do the project and the work, but once they've completed that project, to make it easier, instead of names, they then have to bring it to the board, present it to this board.
To this committee.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm calling it a board or a committee,
The presentation.
And they-
is probably-
and then that's public, and then it is voted on by this committee, this board.
Okay.
But I believe then it goes to the select board, because we present those names
I think that's
to the
right.
select board, and then it has to be finalized by the select board. if I read the deal correctly.
So once the
Could
board.
I ask a question?
Yes.
So the nominating committee would brainstorm and research and whatever, but not approach these people?
Well,
No, my question is.
They would approach those people.
So that, would they, by the time you bring names forward back to this committee, would you already have ruled out people who said, I would not consider it?
Yeah.
That was my concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
People wouldn't find out that they're being considered.
No, no,
No,
Right,
no,
it just has
that's the point.
Great, so.
It would be people that, one, it's a two-way street, agreed, and the nominating committee agreed that their qualifications are prudent to this board, this committee.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah, and, you know, we've had a little conversation about this, but my thinking is that two of us need to go and meet with these people, and, you know, and I created a packet, which we've been talking about, you know, if I were a prospective board member, what would I need to know? So, you know, what kinds of documents? And so this is the beginning of that process of a mission statement and expectations of the board members and previous reports, like the Guilford Butler Futures report and the structural analysis report and estimates of costs and, you know, those kinds of things. And Gabe will be working on schematic drawing and some cost estimates. So people would need to know wherever we are at, you know, what information we have that they need to be educated. So that's the idea. And then we would go to these people and have a conversation. And I've had some conversations with people in really general terms. And usually what happens is they're interested. They might not be willing, but they know somebody else. You know? And I do think that and you know, that networking is really what we're going to find is that people are going to say, oh, I know somebody really good at finances. I think we should go talk to her. Or, you know, I know somebody who's great at fundraising or, you know, so perhaps you want to go talk with them. And then some people are, you know, one person said, I'm really impressed with all the information you've gathered this far. I'd really be interested in looking, you know, at a packet. That's the other piece that we're hoping for. Okay. And John was very honest. He said they really hadn't done any talking about this. They had been involved with other stuff. And so he is really eager to collaborate, which I am too, and I hope everybody is, because, you know, you don't need two of one thing, you need 7 people all with various skills to add to the mix. And so I think that has to be a collaborative process, and then Penny is to nominate somebody else as well. So, you know, one of the biggest commitments is that you're willing to work on fundraising and that you're committed to the mission of a new building. So those are requirements for a board member. Okay, number 3 under old business, review building programming discussion from last month. Dave, you want to take it?
Sure. I mean, and again, I think this is, you know, not the ideal process for this. Because I think just like Sandy said, the meeting we had last month was really fun and very engaged, and I think very productive. And I think ideally we'll want to, you know, carry on the design process using methods like that going forward. So I think next month, for example, we should expect to, you know, all be in the same room again and be able to use the whiteboard and start thinking about how these rooms all work next to each other and talk about people's images of the look and feel of the building and start to make progress on the front. But last month was really just focused on, you know, people writing down their ideas for, you know, which rooms and spaces would be in the building, what they would be for, and sort of what they would be like. And we had a bunch of Post-its up on the board. We can share the images that people are interested. And all I did to produce this list was basically go through the photographs that I took of the Post-it notes, which we ended up sort of gathering together into groups of relatively similar ideas. So from everyone's individual list of rooms, we sort of took the Post-its and put them together to sort of create an agreed upon little matrix of sort of which types of spaces people were gravitating towards, and what the differences were between people's individual ideas of those spaces. And I try to take all that and synthesize it into a list. So obviously, you know, there's certain things that you're going to see on a list like this and certain things that you aren't. It's really mostly about rough size and data and basic function, just a sort of really bare bones starting point that we are all sort of working towards, you know, workshopping, revising, and then agreeing on before we start really thinking about the floor plan of the building. What's not on here is things like windows and finishes and how the, you know, how the spaces start to really look and feel. And that's, you know, that's what we're going to be starting to dive into next time in parallel with finalizing this list. So in the architecture project, we call this a program. It actually ends up being a contractual requirement for an architect to start their actual design services, is to have a list like this from the project owner. So this is a real, you know, a real world exercise to develop something that's a really critical starting point for the process. So I guess I'm curious to just open up the floor and hear people's comments on the list as it stands. And you know, you can't see me, but I'll write it down and we'll just have a discussion, or any questions too. Catherine?
You know, I'm looking at the library and I'm thinking that there is no mention of a secure space for the librarian, you know, like there are records and files that need to be secured, you know. I know, you know, right now there is one such room, you know, at the Guild about the building. And before, I think Penny just used you know, a key drawer, but I don't know, I think it might be, I don't know how that would work, but an office for the management of the building, for instance. I mean, like that.
Yeah, do you think, Catherine, that needs to be a private office, or do you think that can just be a lockable location, but the actual work related to those files could happen, say, behind a circulation desk?
Yeah, it all depends on how much material would have to be kept safe. Yes, I guess. You know.
So that's a good, that is a good point, I think. We should sort of we can workshop that a little bit in terms of figuring out how big it needs to be, but we'll definitely add it in there. I think that makes sense.
Other thing that's missing is the team room. I tried to tell you guys that, but you didn't see my hand.
Is what room?
A team,
I'm sorry, Maureen, I'm having a real hard time hearing you.
teen, T-E-E-N room.
A teen room. Yeah, nobody mentioned that on their list of rooms, but we can find a space for it. Yeah, well, if you have something, Maureen, that you can email me to that reflects your input from the last meeting, that would also be really great. So we can make sure we incorporate your ideas, but we can do it now too. So I'll write down a teen room. I guess the question that I have is that going to be, does that have to be a dedicated room, or is it like a set of programs that could be operated in like the regular conference room, or in the regular reading room, just at specific times? Do you think in your experience, Maureen, that it's helpful to have that to be a totally separate space?
I do. It's every library I've ever worked in or been involved in, they need their own space. Just like the kids need their own space. They have their own books. It's not just a program. Or if they want to do stuff in there, they want to hang out with their friends and read, it's their own dedicated space. It's really
No, that makes
important.
sense. That's good to hear.
As opposed to going and causing trouble somewhere, it isn't just a programming thing.
So.
Maura. I have a couple of things. Is Gabe ready? Because I don't wanna, I know he's fighting with Maureen and stuff.
Sorry, got it. Yeah, I got it. I'm ready.
Okay, under, the space size, I had sent ideas and I wasn't here at the last meeting, but my first question is, are you talking with Penny and the folks at the center and finding out the numbers of the people that are participating in like the events? How many people are coming to children's reading? How many people are coming to the library? How many people currently are coming to yoga and mahjong and cribbage and all those things? Because those numbers will make sure you know that you have enough space allocated for this new building. And they take attendance and people write their names down, so they
Yeah.
do have numbers.
Yeah, I can
Or that-
definitely, I can reach out for the specific numbers. We just had anecdotal discussion of that at the last meeting from folks who had attended those types of programs and were familiar. So it does reflect some of that. But having the actual data, I agree, is a great idea.
And then my next item was in the bathrooms. It would be really good to write down showers because this is also going to be an emergency shelter. And so showers are part of being part of an emergency shelter. And the EMA director of Knox County, who I met last week at the Spruce Head emergency meeting that I'm on, there are FEMA funds that are available. So when that time comes, a grant can be written and they'll pay for showers and things like that for in a building, which is going to be used as an emergency shelter.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
I'll email this stuff to you, Gabe.
That'd be great. Yeah, thanks so much. I wrote down showers in the bathrooms. I think that's gonna make it more useful across the board too. A little bit of a maintenance thing, but not too bad.
So I'll let you finish, Gabe.
No, that was it. I'm just looking for any other feedback.
So you had some information at the last meeting about how much square footage per person for various kinds of spaces, especially in the community space for town meeting, but I'm not sure. Are there other requirements like that? You know, like if the room is used for yoga or ballet, are there also requirements around that kind of activity?
So it's more the square feet per person thing that exists in the building code is really, it gets used more in the opposite direction, which is they look at the room and they say this room is a certain number of size, certain number of square feet, and then they, using that number, they say, well, we got a plan for 33 people. And you got to make sure you have enough emergency exits for 33 people. It's less of a guide for how much space is required for a person to do a certain amount of activity than it is a guide for, you know, how many emergency exits you need based on the maximum number of people you're going to have in the building. So for things like yoga and exercise, I don't think the guidelines are going to be that useful. But for things like library stacks, for example, I can I'll dig into the code and I can add those numbers just so we begin to understand like what the total occupancy of this building is starting to look like. And that's important for understanding, you know, whether or not, for example, fire sprinkler system is going to be needed, and exits and things like that, which we're going to have to get into sooner than later.
So there is
Did
still
that-
something
yeah.
like, you know, for instance, the technology conference room, I mean, could either be, you know, in the library part or in the community center part. I mean, you know, that's gonna be flexible, I guess.
Yeah, what do you think you have a sense of which part that should be in? Do you think it should be equally accessible by both?
Well, I don't know,
I would think you need to look at what the numbers are and what the activities are going currently to see what the usage is being used, because
Yeah.
like you brought up yoga, and they're doing that in the meeting room, and they have like 14 people in there at a time, and so there isn't enough room in that particular room for the yoga, because there's other stuff in the room, and so
Yeah.
people are in the doorway.
Yeah, and I think that's also gonna help us sort of map, like, you know, for example, that technology conference room is not the room I would say would be the yoga room. But the large town meeting space, or half of it, that's probably the yoga room. So I think there's, you know, it's about getting the exact numbers, but it's also about just making sure we have generally right sized spaces that can accommodate number of activities at certain scales.
Because the way I'm thinking about it, I mean, I'm seeing it as a classroom, which would be very equipped with, good technology to do presentations, but I'm thinking in terms of, no more than 20 people in the room, so either attending a program to learn something, or, people meeting about some side organizations or something like that. But for lectures where you have an outside speaker, I see those happening in the big room. So I guess that would make a requirement to have two separate AV systems, one can be just
Yeah.
a TV.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think there's no way around having two AV systems.
Because like the big room, you're gonna need you're gonna need microphones probably, so that people are heard. And a bigger screen, while a smaller classroom side can do with just a projector, and a regular size TV without the owl being necessary. So,
Yeah, of course.
This past week, they started doing, soup luncheon for people in the community. And tables so people can sit, and I'm just wondering, where do these tables go in this one community room? Where there's luncheon going on?
For storage for
Yeah.
equipment like tables and chairs and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, the room would definitely need, but I think we would, once we start looking at the plan and we think about, how many chairs we need and what 150 chairs, maybe there's another setup that has some tables. We'll definitely need to plan for storage for all that furniture, because there's other uses like the yoga we just mentioned, where you're gonna want all that stuff out of the way. That's a good point, for sure.
Yeah, and then they're.
And you'll notice, I think one thing I was gonna point out is at the end of that list, there's a little line that says 20% grossing factor. And that is maybe a little bit low, but that's a sort of little acknowledgement in the list in terms of square footage that we haven't captured every piece of storage or every mechanical closet or the janitor's sink or things like that quite yet at this stage, but we understand that there's sort of routine additional stuff that's going to add to the total square footage of the building at the end. And we tend to use a percentage for that at this early phase. Just knowing that we don't have it fully, we're not going to know how big that stuff is for real until we actually draw it. So that's sort of like just a note about how it works. But Marcia, to your point, like I would say that the furniture storage and things like that is probably important enough to add a line for in the list, just so we make sure we remember it.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that one down.
And Dave, it might be well worth it on that note, is having one side where the tables fold up and the chairs can be stacked onto the side, so it makes it easy to store them and make it easy for them to take it out instead of them being taken someplace else.
Well, for instance, Marjan is a table of 4, so that can't be folding.
But some tables, like at the community center in Spruce Head, our tables stay out, but then they can be folded up. They go behind a wooden bench, and all the chairs go behind those wooden benches, so the area is taken out. And so that's just, I'm sure in today's world, there's neater doors that can open up and lots of stuff can be put away easily, so people aren't lifting and carrying too far away.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good, the layout has gotta be efficient enough or else nobody's ever gonna, you know. The worst thing is to design a theoretically flexible space that doesn't work. And ends up getting stuck one way or another. So I think it's definitely worth mentioning all these issues up front before we start sketching the floor plan.
I didn't hear what Marcia
What
said.
did you just say?
I said friendly for youth.
Well, because it's hard to lift everything.
Yeah,
Well, they leave tables out right now, for people come in and play games, they do puzzles, they read, pass them. So it isn't just programming.
right.
Anytime two people want to get together and go play cribbage, they'll go in there and do that.
Right.
Saturday's a huge thing, if you show up, there's like 50 people in there.
And the table have to be light enough that, if people want a bigger group around the table, they can move the tables to put them together.
Yeah, and put
And-
them together, exactly. I mean, I will say that at this phase, we are not gonna get to the level of choosing the tables, but I think knowing what we need them to do is important so far as it affects, how we need the room to perform.
But to me, when I was thinking of, okay, we have to be able to move the tables, as you move tables, does that have an implication for the floor covering? Because, you were mentioning carpet could be a possibility, and we were like, if you use I don't know what's easier, or to me, low maintenance is priority. And I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, you can wheel, they make tables you can wheel on carpet if you need to, but I think we sort of started to move away from that. Anyway,
Okay.
but that's a topic for next time, I think, too. We started to talk about what these rooms are like.
So Gabe, what do you need from us, for next meeting? How would you, how could we further this conversation? I know we have photographs of things and we were going to
Yes,
talk.
I think I'm gonna take these comments, update the list, send it out again. And then next time, I think the two things I want to do are, one, talk about the images and talk about the look and feel and just get a general sense of where people are at on that. And start to just discuss the merits and the the pros and cons of different things like that, and particularly like interiors as well as exteriors. Those are, I mean, they're two conversations, but I sort of want to start having them both. Like, what impression does this building make from the road? What is it intended to be like as a sort of a piece in the landscape? And then what are the interiors, what is the look and feel of that? And how is that, what does that want to communicate and how does that want to feel? So that's one thing. It would be great if everybody could, I think it's going to be easiest if people can actually email me images. Because I don't know if everybody, not everyone has a printer. I think Catherine, you said your printer wasn't working. Not to call you out, but
So I think if you can put a slideshow together with all the
yeah,
pictures.
that's what I can do. I'll either print them all, which is possible, or I can put a slideshow together and we can look at it on the screen.
Yeah,
But either way, just everyone email me some images and any other just ideas, building related ideas that you have. We'll probably put you on the spot to talk about them when we look at them. So we just, I won't be able to speak for you and I don't want to try. So
I have some pictures of things I didn't like.
I've got a little bit of that myself.
Yes, I mean, some things are coming again and again, and I say, okay, this is a
yeah, of
problem.
course. Yeah, that's a great thing to point out too. It doesn't have to be all positive. It's just, however what can we learn? Like, it's basically like just using a little bit of time to do some research and see what we can learn about how we want this thing to work, either in a positive sense, like, yeah, this is great, this is something we should do, or a negative sense, like, wow, I keep seeing people making this mistake over and over again, let's not do that. So they're both super helpful. And I'm happy to put together a slideshow and walk through it next time. And the other thing I think that would be fun is just thinking about, we started to talk about it a little bit, but like once we have the list, just starting to think about those lists of rooms like little blocks and what should touch what and what needs to be next to each other for the purposes of flow. And we might not get through it all in one meeting, but it might be, it's the next step after we have the list of rooms and we have the discussion about the look and feel, is just starting to talk about basically like really basic floor plan ideas, like how do things flow into one another, and what are the important adjacencies that are going to make it work or not. So it's about convenience, it's about flow, it's about like thinking about programming scenarios, thinking just about sort of the logic of how the space would be organized. I think if people can spend a little bit of time, make a few notes on that as well, that would be super helpful.
Do you have any exemplars that you'd like us to consider?
In terms of like previous, like buildings that I think are good.
Buildings that are good, community spaces that you think work really well, anything.
I'll bring stuff and I'll be part of the slideshow next week. I think it's actually like this, I think it's better to go in cold and just think from your own experience and your own ideas, and then we'll put it all together. And if I can probably share examples and things that might bridge certain ideas or, put things together a little bit, I'll try to do that. But I think I'm just really excited to see what everyone comes up with, honestly.
I mean, you saw, I actually looking at all the spaces, I drew a floor plan. Did I send it to you?
Yeah, I have it. It's going in the slide. It'll go in the slideshow, and you can present it.
All right. Anything else?
If you want to do that, that's fine. If you just want to provide written thoughts, that's fine. If you just want to talk about it, that's also fine. But please do send the pictures.
Okay, and I'm willing to find out the specific data of all the programs and spaces that are going on now at the Guilford Butler Center. Is it just me going in and talking with, do you have that data, or where is it Penny? Penny has it?
Well, she has to give it for insurance purposes.
She what?
She has to have it for insurance.
Yes, okay, so and I had asked about going to take pictures of the rooms in progress, but was that all right with Penny? Did you ask her?
Yeah, no, I thought you had already done that. You came in one day.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, no, I don't.
But it
think
was
there
okay,
a problem.
I asked, for permission, so.
Yeah,
Well, you have to ask her.
yeah. I mean, I think she thought you were already
Just
doing it.
email her and say, I don't think this is such a day.
No, Marcia was gonna ask, so, okay.
Anyway, Sandy, that's a huge help. That would be great to get that data. And I'll once we get it, I'll incorporate it into the list as well.
And it's permission, it's the people you're going to photograph.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I didn't want to just show up taking pictures, if that wasn't appropriate, so, I'll talk with Penny, and I'll get the data from her.
And for use, like a Saturday morning or a Wednesday noon time, to see the people.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you got a point, Catherine.
Was this the first?
Yeah.
this was the first week, Super Wednesday or Super Wednesday. How many did you have for this?
I think 18 and we ran out of
So we
the first half an hour was open.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Not great to run out of.
But it's very popular.
No, I think.
And who came? Like, what kind of people?
Mostly older people, for community,
There is really a need for that.
Yeah.
Do you folks have food service cards that you allowed you to serve food?
No, it was catered in.
It was catered by the folks next door?
Yes.
Okay, do they have food service cards?
I'm sure they do, I don't know more, there's no food all.
The reason I ask is that's a technicality for the insurance for the city. If they don't have that insurance and that coverage and someone gets sick, we're all liable.
No, I understand that, and I'm pretty sure that the woman was preparing the food, I mean, she's selling food all the time.
Right in their garage.
Yeah.
And I'm just cautious about being not responsible. Because I think it's a need that that's why we wanted to put a kitchen in this new building and have all of that. Because people want to do it, plus it's very social.
Yeah, very much so, and the Saturday morning thing is too.
Yeah, I think it's great how many people are
Yep.
using the space.
At the big store.
No, it's a woman, a family that lives right next to the.
In the
Scones and.
The scones in the red house just before you get to the
Before the
center.
library, or right
Yeah,
after
with the tall
library.
grass.
Yeah.
And they have goats. They had goats at one time, but they have tall grass.
Tall grass.
And they sell things in in the garage.
And they have a license.
I don't know.
I don't know. either.
Well, I asked the question and I just wanted to make sure we're responsible.
Worth knowing, outside the purview of our committee, but worth knowing.
But I will ask, so that.
So can I, are we,
Yeah,
are we on to our next topic? or
Yeah,
should I break
yeah.
it?
no,
And how much was the bowl of soup?
$8.
$8? That's not cheap.
Well, you
No.
get soup, you get bread, you get dessert and a drink.
Okay,
That's
and how
very
much the
cheap.
bowl of soup? Well,
It's a whole meal.
Yeah, the whole meal, and most people gave it 10.
Yeah, it's easy to get to the fundraiser.
All right, well, I think that's really it.
It sounded like Maureen had
I
something.
just had because Dave said we'll talk about it next meeting. Are we gonna continue to meet here or are we gonna move to the library? So here an hour on television. And we're in the library and the librarian's there.
All right,
Available.
let's open that up for
And couldn't you hear better over there as opposed to this room? That's what I heard.
Say that again.
Exactly.
I hear better over there. I could hear better almost
The
anywhere.
lighting is better in this room than over there.
and what's going on tonight at the library?
Library arts.
What? Fiber
Fiber
arts?
arts.
Yes, so these are quiet people. I assume.
Well, if you shut the door, I mean, the classrooms, they are pretty soundproof. So
Well, that's-
anyway, my point is this gonna continue to be here?
Not necessarily. I don't have an opinion so much. I just, for me, it's always about hearing, but, should I mean, should we take a
So
vote?
which room do the fiber arts people need?
Are they in the space maker?
Yes.
Okay,
Is
so
that
we
one?
would go in the meeting room, which is pretty dark. I have a problem with the lighting in that room, so that's all I have. I'd
The
rather
meeting
be
room
there.
is the middle one, isn't it?
The meeting room is the second door.
Meet where they do ballet. It's the
Oh,
learning
okay, that's the
center.
meeting room.
It's the learning center.
Well,
Doesn't matter, that's where the TV and the owl are.
I would make the suggestion that we give it a try and see how that feels. And if, for various reasons, that's a better place.
And then Penny can contribute.
Then,
If she needs to, she can step away from whatever she's doing.
any thoughts from you, Dave, on that?
Not really. I'm willing to try it.
Yeah. that's fine.
All right, so should we meet next, let me get the date, so I don't screw that one up. It's November,
And she knows how to do the.
that would be good. What are you
November
doing?
3rd.
The third, November 3rd, at the library. I will,
What is the election?
The eighth.
Date, okay.
I'll contact Penny and just double check that, if we can do that, and then I'll let everybody know, and,
She's very open to that. I mean, she
No,
likes to
no, I-
contribute.
I mean, I think
She's
being
the
in the
director,
space,
So I think it's a good idea.
yeah,
And I have one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, but there's a lot of stuff going on in my life right now, so I don't feel like I can contribute as much as this group's gonna need, so I'm gonna have to step away. So you can get somebody else to take my place. I mean, I'd still like to contribute to the group, but I'll probably end up having to do it from the audience. I just can't, I mean, you keep wanting me here, and, you know, if you want us physical here as opposed to trying to do it on Zoom, and, you know, sometimes it's easier for me to do it on Zoom, but I don't think it's fair to the group if I can't give 100%, so, I mean, I've had to step away from a lot of stuff that I've been doing in the community, because I've got too much stuff going on right now, and that was personal stuff in my life with family and health issues.
Totally understandable.
I just can't, I mean, I'm really just heart sick, because this is just a, you know, close to my heart type of vision, so. But I don't think it's fair that I can't, I just know I'm not gonna be able to get over time in the next, rest of the year at least. and-
There's, do you want to notify the select board?
Oh, I'm gonna write a letter to, I wanted to tell the group tonight,
Yeah,
and I'll send the selectmen, I have to resign type of thing for the next meeting. So. I'm very, very sorry, but I will continue to, you know, participate when I can and send ideas and all that kind of thing, and maybe in the future I can jump back in, but right now it's just.
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
please send us anything at any time too, if you have a moment to send an email, thoughts or anything.
I
As long as the
hear
communication remain open.
more, just I just feel bad because I can't.
No, I understand. I know what that, when I.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, definitely. We'll miss your ideas, but like I said, please send them anyway.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Maureen. And I think we have our homework for next meeting of what we need to do, bring images or send them to Gabe. And thinking about, what, all the things that we'll be discussing next, time around what impression does the building have for us, interior and exterior? Do you want it to feel a New England porchy feel, or do you want it more modern, or a combination of interesting architectural nods to the past and to the future? All kinds of ideas that come up in that conversation. So, and.
Yeah, and then just the way that the rooms relate to one another.
Flow, yeah.
In terms of a floor plan, that would be helpful.
I find that really hard to figure because there's you know, the community space is going to be used in such a variety of ways to make that really feel dedicated in some ways and then not dedicated in other ways. So for me, that's the bigger conversation.
Yeah, it can be generic. It can be like thoughts like that. Like it's not so much you figured it out, but it's, you know, it's important that there's an opportunity for this space to feel both connected, but also at certain times separate. You know, it can be more abstract than like a real, like, well, this needs to be touching that next to that. It can also be like, here's how this relationship should feel. And then we can work together to figure out what that means in terms of walls and doors and things.
And then also for the next meeting, our nominating committee will meet and we'll start to flesh out the packet. I don't know if one of you wants to take this home, what I've assembled so far, and then hand it off.
You only have one copy?
I only made one copy.
How about if we, after the meeting, set a time to get together and then we can go over it together? If that's
I
okay with
didn't,
you.
because I didn't copy these back to back and I didn't want to be,
Or I can take them to Staples to get a copy.
well, it may not, you know, anyway, I just want to show you what I did. So, all right, that's it for tonight. Next meeting, November 3rd at the library, unless you do otherwise, for me, at 6 o'clock. And a motion to adjourn, so moved. Okay, we're done. Thanks, Gabe.
Thanks, everyone.
I could hear you, so
Yeah, here you go. Maybe we should all be on the room.
I'll join the Zoom from the meeting and I'll just use it as a microphone next time.
Could you hear
But there's time.
It's probably your system at home when you can't hear it. when
No,
you're
no,
at
no,
home.
no, 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 it's when, I'm sitting here and somebody's there, not